When we invest our money, we may want to spread it out and not put everything into one type of investment, like stocks, bonds, or real estate. And investing in stocks or bonds doesn't require a lot of cash. However, real estate is different. With real estate, we need to make a significant investment, and that is not always possible. Luckily, there is something called a REIT, Real Estate Investment Trust. REITs are companies that own or finance real estate properties that generate income, and we can buy shares of those companies instead of buying the entire property. The great thing about REITs is that they are required to distribute at least 90% of their income as dividends to shareholders. This means we receive regular dividend payments similar to the money we would receive from tenants if we owned an entire property. And as someone who owns real estate, I can tell you that not having to deal with all the tenant-related work, renovations, paperwork, and taxes is a significant advantage of investing in REITs. And there are also mortgage REITs that don't own real estate directly. Instead, they finance real estate and earn income from the interest on those investments. And there are over 860 REITs globally. So how can we find the best one? Well, there are probably just as many ways to do that as there are REITs. But the way I like to do it is just looking at the numbers and creating a ranking. Like I do with a stock ranking that is available to all our patrons and which allows us to find interesting investment possibilities much faster. And answering your question, yes, you can become a patron as well and get access to it. So today we are going to create a REIT ranking to help us find the best REITs on the market. So we will look at 4 sets of data: dividend yield, 5-year dividend growth, 10-year average return, and price to earnings ratio. That way, we will concentrate not only on dividends, but also on a possible growth of the stock as well. And I got all the data for this video from a website called Dividend.com. But if you want to know what websites I use on a daily basis, then here is a link to a video about best websites for investors. Okay, so we will list 20 best REITs in each category. And they will get 20 points for the first place, 19 for second, 18 for third, and all the way to 1 point for being 20th. And then we will add all the results together, and because we want to choose REITs that are strong in different areas, because that gives us more security, we will give extra 5 points to any REIT that is listed in 2 categories, 10 extra points if it's listed in 3 categories, and 15 points if we can find it in all 4 categories. So let's start with the dividend yield. Okay, so these are REITs with the highest dividend yield currently. So as you can see, dividend yield goes from around 12.5% all the way to around 15.1%. And then we get to the top 5 positions. And at number 5, we have Brandywine Realty Trust. It has a dividend yield of 17%. Number 4 is Two Harbors Investment Corp with 17.1% dividend yield. In third, we have Armor Residential REIT Incorporated with 18.4% dividend yield, so a big jump here. In second, Orchid Island Capital Incorporated with 18.6%. And at number 1, with a highest dividend yield currently, we have Cherry Hill Mortgage Investment Corporation, and this result is an incredible 20.9%. Okay, so we have our top 20 when it comes to the dividend yield. Now let's create another ranking of the top 20 REITs, but we will look at the 5-year dividend growth rate. Okay, so these are the best 20 REITs when it comes to the dividend growth. And as you can see, it starts at around 8.5% and goes all the way up till 14.7%. And that is the point where we get to the top 5 positions. At number 5, we have Invitation Homes Incorporated with 18.7% growth, so a substantial step up from American Tower. At number 4, we have Rexford Industrial Realty Incorporated, and the growth rate is 18.9%. And now we are getting to the podium places. Third is American Homes for Rent with an incredible growth rate of 34.5%. In second, we have Essential Properties Realty Trust Incorporated with 39.6%. And at number 1, we see Innovative Industrial Properties Incorporated with a mind-blowing 43.1% growth rate. That is really impressive. Okay, so we know what are the best REITs when it comes to the dividend growth. And now let's take a look at 10-year average return for REITs. So these are the top 20 REITs when it comes to the 10-year average return. So in this case, we look at the change in the stock price and the dividends that we would collect in that time frame. So, as we can see, the returns start at 14.2% and get to 16.8%. And now we get to the top 5 positions. At number 5, we have Maxus Realty Trust Incorporated with 16.9% return. At number 4, Equinix Incorporated with an impressive 18%. And at number 3, we have Pathward Financial Incorporated with 19.5% return. Then, at number 2, New York Mortgage Trust with 25.4% return. And at number 1, we see Ensign Group Incorporated with an impressive 28.3% average 10-year return. Okay, so we have just one ranking left before we will be able to see the final results. Let's take a look at the PE ratios. Okay, so these are the 20 REITs with the lowest price to earnings ratios. And of course, the lower the ratio, the cheaper is a stock compared to its earnings. So we go all the way from 12.1 to 6.9, and now we get to the top 5 positions. And at number 5, we have Apollo Commercial Real Estate Finance Incorporated with a PE of 5.6. Then New Residential Investment Corporation at number 4 with PE of 4.7. And at number 3, we have Hersha Hospitality Trust with a very low PE of 1.9. Second in this ranking is iStar Incorporated with a PE of 1.7. And the REIT with the lowest price to earnings ratio is Transcontinental Realty Investors with a PE of 0.7. So that is extremely low. Great, so we have all 4 rankings. And now let's add the results and let's add the extra points for all the REITs that have been listed in 2 or more of those rankings. So the final results look like this. And that way we got to the top 5 positions. The 5th best REIT is East Group Properties Incorporated. The company develops, acquires and operates industrial properties. The 4th best REIT is Prologix Incorporated. It invests in logistics facilities. The company owns around 5,500 buildings in 19 countries. Third place goes to Extra Space Storage Incorporated. The company rents storage units. It is the second largest owner of self-storage units in the United States and the largest self-storage property manager. And at number 2 we have Orchid Island Capital Incorporated. This REIT invests in residential mortgage-backed securities on a leveraged basis. So that's a fancy way of saying that they buy pieces of loans that people have taken out to buy homes. And they don't just use their own money to buy these loan pieces. They also borrow money from others to buy even more of them. And the best REIT in our ranking is Arbor Realty Trust with 45 points. And it is the only REIT that was listed in 3 different rankings. So it got extra 10 points for that. Arbor Realty Trust is a mortgage REIT. They invest in different types of properties like apartments, single-family homes, and commercial buildings. But instead of buying the properties themselves, they invest in financial instruments linked to real estate, like mortgage-backed securities. They earn money through interests and payments from these investments. So here is our ranking. But before you go, remember that this is just a ranking based on 4 data points, and you should use it only as a starting point to look deeper into any of those companies. For example, if we look at our runner-up, we see that it had great results in the past, but in the last 2 years, it is losing money and also its dividend is going down. So for me, it does not look as appealing as, for example, Extra Space Storage, which is growing its income and raising its dividend. So please always do your own due diligence and treat this just as a list of potential ideas. Thank you so much for watching and see you in the next one.